Hi!
Hi! Welcome to another
Film
Critters Processes.
Today, we're actually very excited to be talking about a movie that came out fairly recently. We didn't see it in the theaters because we're quarantined.
Yeah, we saw it on our computer screen. The theater of the mind, if you will.
The theater of the neat. Yeah, we saw it on our fucking phones. It was the movie of it was Bacurau.
Bacurau, distributed through Kino Lorber, is what it says, and they did a 150 independent theater run with the film, and I think it currently you can still rent it through them and watch it actually.
Yeah,
which we recommend. Again, check to see if any of your local theaters have it because it's really fucking good. It's a really fucking good movie.
It's yeah, we'll get into it. But I really wasn't expecting to like come away from like a western, like a spaghetti western made in 2019, like loving it that much.
Yeah. No, I thought I wouldn't end up liking it because it was a Western, basically.
Right.
Because, I'm not a big Western fan, but I actually watched it first with my boyfriend, who does love Westerns, and was like, this is, like, beat for beat perfect as a Western. And then immediately turned around and showed it to one of my roommates, who also loves Westerns. And he had the same reaction, which is like, yeah, this is, like, a perfect Western. Just, like, set in Brazil. And like with a sort of like, I guess the genre is called like weird Western, where it's like the sort of modern Western thing, where it's like they'll put other elements of it in there.
Right.
I know there's the Korean film, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I know there's a part of that as well.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie.
I've been wanting to rewatch it actually. I was talking about I actually was talking about it with my roommate, and I was like, fuck, now I want to just like go see that. I don't know any other options since, again, I don't really watch Westerns.
Yeah.
I guess Westworld, I'm looking at this list of weird Westerns, counts. My favorite example actually on here, I am familiar with, the Wild West COW Boys of Moo Mesa, the weird 90s cartoon where they're like alien cowmen who are also cowboys.
Hell fucking yeah, that sounds like a party. Yeah, I will say, like, we've both watched this movie twice. The first time I watched it, I was a little bit like, I don't know, I wasn't ready for it. I think like the second viewing, like, really, like, once you get a handle on the pacing, and get a handle on like what it's going for, it is so much fun. But yeah, it's almost overwhelming because it has like so much like stylistic, like so many different amazing stylistic choices. Like I loved all the different like Star Wars cuts and like frame wipes and shit that this movie has.
Yes, actually, that reminds me. This is the thing that I talked about with my boyfriend too. Is the film is also just definitely like has that sort of vibe of like not like a love letter to cinema in the way like people say it and they're jerking themselves off, but like a love letter to cinema in the sense of like we're playing within a genre film, so we're gonna like include like we're gonna draw from multiple types of genre films that we really like. And one thing I did not there was like a part in it where there's like a song that plays, and I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot of like a John Carpenter song, and I think it actually is a remix of a John Carpenter song. Yeah, okay, there's a remix of the John Carpenter song Night on it that I'm pretty sure is what plays like at night.
Yeah. Huh.
Like it's like specifically from when I looked it up, it looked like it's the Zola Jesus and Dean Hurley remix.
Oh, sick. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I love that. I didn't have my ears open for that, but I might just check out the soundtrack, just because it was really good.
It's got good music in it. Yeah, I know. It was funny because like when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is like very John Carpenter-y. This reminds me of like the movie Halloween. And then just like when I was pulling it up to watch it a second time, like that was one of the things I saw was just like also featuring Night, the Zola Jesus remix. And I was like, what?
That's fucking insane, but that's amazing. Yeah, so what, like, I don't even, I'm like struggling with where to start because like mainly what I just want to do is be like, I loved this, I loved that. I think
I thought this part was really something.
I thought it was really special. I think
don't walk to your local movie theater.
Oh my god, lights, camera, fun. Yeah, no. But I will say, like, the big draw of this movie is that it's like an unbelievable like ensemble piece. There's so many memorable characters, and like every actor like gets the absolute like pure value of all their screen time, and there's so much like character development for just absolutely everybody. And all of the performances are like stellar. They're like so natural, and it's such a believable little village. Even with like the slew of child actors, like they do a good job too. Like it's, I don't know. I was really struck by that.
I feel like I had read somewhere that it's a part of it is because like a lot of the sort of general village characters are also like actually people from the area that the fictional village is sort of placed.
Uh-huh.
So like that's definitely part of it, is that it's got that sort of effect of just like we hired a bunch of people to essentially play themselves, which is always like a good thing to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's like great about it is that like, and I didn't even notice this like explicitly until I was like reading interviews and stuff after, but they specifically like made the cast very diverse, but
Right.
not in a way that felt like tokenizing to anybody.
Yeah.
Like it just felt very naturally like this is a small village, so like everybody's a part of it, and so you don't really notice as you're watching it that like, oh yeah, like, you know, they're all Brazilian, but like some people are like black Brazilian, some are white, some are like full like Portuguese, and then there's just a lot of like incidentally queer people amongst the cast. But again, It's never like attention's never drawn to it. It's never like, and here's our town homosexual. It's like there's Lunga, and we'll get to Lunga, great character.
Yeah, we will.
And then there's Dominguez and her wife are also there, and it's just sort of like casually mentioned that she has a wife. And then like you see them like hold each other in like certain shots and stuff. It's done in the exact kind of like I'm trying to figure out how to put this. It is what like Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar thinks they're doing when they put gay characters in their films. Where it's like, we're not putting a big like, hey everyone, look at this gay like on it. But like they are, because it's like the Cyclops and onwards going like, I can't wait to go home, turns to the camera, and tell my wife.
I can't wait to go home and fuck my wife.
Who's gay, by the way.
Who is also gay. God, no, yeah. Yeah,
but it's like, it's just that the characters exist and live in this world, so the fact that they're gay comes up because it's, you see them with their partners, you see them with your eyes, but it's not like, you know, because it's an ensemble film, because it's a Western, because it's about a village coming together and working on stuff, it like the fact their sexuality doesn't come into play in it any more than everyone else's sexuality comes into it, which it does. You know, there's sex workers in the film, there's Pacote and God, what's her name? The girl who's visiting, Teresa. Yeah, there's them like having chemistry. Which, by the way, as far as the ensemble goes, I love that like she is introduced and then he is introduced, and it seems like they're going to be the two characters that are like the protagonists, but they arguably have some of the like least like sort of like big like blowout scenes in the film.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
both important. Like, you know, they both contribute in the same way. Like everyone in the film, especially like all the named characters contribute. But like I really love the subtle way in which they're introduced as these sort of like almost like cliche like movie like action characters. But then it's just like, but they're not actually any more important than anyone else in this village.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Like I was just so obsessed with like the shifting of like perspective to and the way it portrays like different people's kind of roles and like what niches they fill and like what you know what their skills are, because like there was a lot of kind of build up to like Pakot being this like killer or whatever, and what he ended up like doing was kind of like playing support class toward the end of the movie, and then like he kind of like cedes his position of power to like people that he trusts,
Yeah.
speaking as like going from the position of being the guy who's like putting everything together, noticing everything, realizing more or less that the town is going to be in danger, and then like going to kind of consult the expert, which just really like I don't know, like I'm taken aback by the level of like character work and the like the strength of the narrative.
Also, the actor and the character hot. They're very they're very
Yeah.
they're very hot. There's definitely like I feel like there's just a little bit of a gaze on him in the film, because like there's just like the scene where he's walking around open shirted and he keeps like moving in a way that opens the shirt further.
Yeah, I was, eyes emoji. But like, yeah, I just really liked I really like the portrayal of like his character. Yeah, I like how the movie doesn't feel suffocated. It feels like it's giving everybody room to breathe and room to like room to make like decisions that obliquely make some sort of sense. We can talk a little bit about Dominguez, who is played by
I've got it.
Sonia Braga.
So yeah, Sonia Braga, who I looked it up, is actually been in a lot of like American television shows as well.
Yeah, she has like an incredible career. She was in Kiss of the Spider Woman, and is just all over the place. I thought that like her character kind of, if I have to point to like one singular character that kind of functions as the backbone of the movie, it's maybe hers, or her, I should say, because like she just goes through such a roller coaster of like different states, and like her character isn't like constrained at all, and she's like a drunken grieving mess in like the first time we see her, and then the next time she's apologizing, and she's like offering assistance and information to everybody, and she's like immediately like people recognize the importance of her knowledge and like all of this shit. Like I don't know, like she kind of exemplifies the way in which the movie like lets its characters breathe and like lets them be complicated, and to kind of selectively like fade in and out of the background to kind of do what they're able to do.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. On the start of the film, it sets her up in a way where you think she's going to be kind of like the main conflict point. And then, like, she's not. Like, it's very much just like, oh, she's drunk, and the matriarch who died is, like, one of her oldest friends. And so now she's kind of, like, adjusting to essentially being, like, in a position of being one of the, like, new matriarchs, essentially, as one of the oldest people in the village. And, and you start to see that, like, early on, where she takes responsibility for, like, telling Tony Jr., like, hey, if she comes back, if the sex worker that you're taking against her will comes back hurt, I'll kill you. I will kill you. Real quick, just want to read this line off Wikipedia. Personal life. During the 1980s, Braga had relationships with Van Halen frontman David Lee Roth, with actor Robert Redfield, and with director Clint Eastwood. Just
Bellissimo.
Girl, get it.
Fucking get it. That's incredible, and I am newly completely obsessed with her. And yeah, I also like the part where she is she also kind of exemplifies like the attitude of the town, in specifically the scene where like the like leader of this like paramilitary gang like rolls up and she's like, come here, just come eat some food, drink some cashew milk, let's talk, let's hash it out. And yeah, I like that whole scene was incredible. All the scenes with Tony Jr. were also fucking so funny, so cathartic to watch.
That actor does such a good job playing just like exactly that kind of sleazeball. Like even just the scene where he's sort of introduced, rolling up with this music blasting, nobody being around or wanting to talk to him. Like him just doing this like the most like pathetic attempt at like getting like voters like to support him, and then just immediately taking like one of their sex workers against her will.
Like for fucking real.
So I guess we could probably talk on like the more overt political aspects of the film.
Yeah.
And let's just to start with, obviously, neither Brew or I are experts on Brazilian politics.
0%.
Yeah, but I feel confident in going forward with this because this interview with Silveiro Pereira, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name.
Pereira.
Thank you. Thank you, American education system, for sending me to speech classes and destroying my ability to pronounce words that aren't basic English words.
Yeah.
But they have a quote where they're talking about they're responding essentially to like they're like, oh yeah, some critics complained that like you need to know a lot about like Brazilian politics, and they're just like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, no, you don't. And they're like, when I watch films like Bacurau or Parasite or Joker, when I watch them, I identify immediately with the issues that they portray, no matter where they're from. And then they kind of tie that into the fact that this is very much so an explicitly like anti-fascist, socialist, communist, left. It's a left-wing film that makes its politics via its story, not via like the American kind of liberal film of like, there's no part where the characters turn to the camera and say, and that's why restorative justice is the best praxis.
Yeah.
It's just a film that, you know, takes its inspiration from very, very real kinds of villages and very real class differences that exist in the society. And if you have any sort of awareness of those in your society and a general inkling of how that plays out on a global scale, the film's like, you get it. Like, you're going to get the film. There's maybe minor details that like you might be like, what's this thing? What's that thing? But like, you're going to be able to follow the film.
And I mean, the other aspect of the film is that like a lot of the it is like explicitly, well, I guess I should say the gang, the like sort of military gang that shows up to you know, kind of like slaughter this village are primarily like Americans. I think there's one guy was he from Australia? I don't.
It's sort of implied that they're ambiguously Westerners.
Yeah.
Because there's Michael, Udo Kier's character, Udo Kier being a like cult film actor, doing an amazing turn in this film, who's German, but is like also like he argues about how he's like a naturalized American citizen. There's characters that are very overtly American, but it's sort of just like ambiguously like maybe some of them are from Canada, maybe some are from Australia. They represent the West, and specifically the Imperial West.
Right. Yeah, I do.
So mostly America, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like primarily Americans, and there's that whole nightmarish scene where they kind of insinuate that the Brazilians are like not white, which is just like, you know, like kind of on the nose about like a lot of sort of reactionary right-wing politics and shit like that. But I did really think that the line that was really, really crucial out of like a lot of what that like gang went through was like that whole argument where he's like, I'm more American than you because I've lived in America, you know, longer, blah, 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 blah.
Longer than you've been alive, yeah.
Which is like, if you've been doing your reading, you would know the relevance of that, because like a lot of the sort of tenets of Nazism, like Adolf Hitler like idolized the United States and what the United States had done, and like the, you know, United States has like a very long history with like a long and like expert history with like genocide, you know, inside and outside of its borders. So like,
I also kind of assumed that it's somewhat then thus maybe supposed to be implied that he's one of the Operation Paperclip Nazis.
Oh.
Since America very infamously in like, let me see here, like basically after World War II brought over like Nazi scientists and
oh my God.
put them in NASA, and like basically like we use them to develop our projects.
Right.
I don't know if he's like explicitly supposed to be that, but it definitely feels like that's supposed to be like an implicit sort of like, if not he is an Operation Paperclip guy, because he'd have to be like super old if he was, but just sort of like you're supposed to be like, wait, you've been in America for this. Were you a Nazi? Were you a Nazi scientist that Americans brought? Like, I think it's supposed to make you go, wait a second, hold on. I was going to say, especially since with the Operation Paperclip stuff, it is somewhat implied that they are there on like some sort of secret deep state, like business kind of thing. Like it's heavily implied that they have political connections that will make it so that the fact that they were there is going to be covered up. So there's an implication that they have some sort of access to power.
Right. And then there's those like earpieces and like the point system that they keep talking about.
Oh yeah.
Which is
we never find out who's giving them orders.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, I don't need to know. I think it's a really fun touch. And yeah. And I mean, you know, we know our history. We know
yeah
that this is more accurate than not. But yeah, I loved all of the little like subgenres of white supremacist. I loved the IT something awful guy. I loved the like guy who's only there because he is taking out his aggression against his ex-wife or whatever.
The bit of him just talking about like how he was gonna shoot up a mall and like that being the bridge too far for everyone around him.
Yeah. Like there's so much infighting, and there's just so much like goalpost moving. There's like the other character who's just like a born and bred sociopath who like shoots a kid, and then there's a big fight about him shooting a kid. Like, God, just Call of Duty players, just like complete, you know, like a really just a very effective illustration.
Speaking of on the first watch, and I talked about this like with my roommates, and like we kind of like decided like actually it was a good choice. Was like I thought it was weird how like the sex pervert lady and the sociopath guy like get kind of the quickest deaths because they just get killed in the shootout at the school like immediately.
Yeah.
But then as we were talking about it, we were like, oh, actually, I kind of like that because it's sort of like, it goes against like their ideal, which is that if they're going to go out, they're going to go out in this like glorious, flashy death. And so for them to just get fucking just like annihilated by the village shooting them with guns and it being like kind of a pathetic death is like, I think actually better than if they had like one of the flashier deaths in the movie.
Yeah. There's so many like incredible points in the movie where it like firmly positions like these opposing factions as like having very, very different like goals, because like obviously these like people with guns just want to kill, like they just want to wipe these people off the map, you know, for capital and for like for political gain and for, you know, blah 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 blah, and like the town is just like interested in self-defense, and there's a whole lot of just kind of like thematic weight given to that, I feel like. But
and I think that's a big reason why Dominguez has that one scene where she tries to, you know, she tries to make peace, as it were, is that it's heavily implied that the people of the town, like, being descended from like bandits or some or like, and like the implication of the old police cars that are out in the desert that are full of bullet holes, like the unexplained history that Tony Jr. has of them. Like, it's very heavily implied that like this is a village that like lives in peace, but definitely as part of its history has like a willingness to like defend itself to the death of the other person, and is very competent at doing so.
Right.
A line which I really like being reflected in the end when they're going through the museum and she's like, no, leave the blood on the wall exactly as it is, unfortunately. Which I really like, because it's like, it's a moment of just like, yes, no, we want this here because this is a part of our history. This is a thing that is going to be a part of our history, but it is unfortunate that it is a part of our history.
Yeah. God, yeah. And there's just such an interplay between the scenes that take place where like the bikers show up and they're asking all sorts of really like ignorant questions about the town, and then all of a sudden like it kind of culminates in like this showdown that takes place in the museum that is showing you all over its walls the like uprisings and the like wartime efforts and like all sorts of shit that had to happen for the town to like retain itself and retain its like, you know, sovereignty and you know, and all this shit. So it's like very like funny in a political cartoon kind of way, but then like once it, yeah, like you said, once it kind of confronts it, it's just like, do you see, you know, it's a really effective movie because it's like, do you see what we fucking have to deal with?
Yeah. I did like when I first watched it too, like, and the second he like looks up the museum and he starts walking into it, I like slammed my head on the table like, oh my god, there's gonna be something in the museum that like, because like throughout the film they keep telling like people to go check out the museum, and it's like it completely recontextualizes that as like essentially like not a threat, but as a like speak walkly and carry a big stick kind of thing, where it's like, oh, you should check out our museum, in a very like, you should check out our museum so you know why you shouldn't try to fuck with us because we're suspicious of you. Yeah,
learn about our history for your own sake.
Welcome, stranger. You should really know more about us.
I do want to like point out like that it was completely like the UFO thing was just like really genius. I just loved it as like a filmmaking touch.
Yeah.
Because it's like it kind of like lulls you into the sense of just like, oh, crazy, there's a UFO now? What kind of movie is this? And then the movie like slaps you across the face like, bitch, you thought you were smarter than these characters. Like, you know, the villager being like, listen, it looked like a UFO. That shit was obviously a drone. Someone's spying on us.
I love that, yeah.
And the audience, and like the way the movie positions it, like the audience is going like, oh fuck, it was.
It's so fun. Yeah, because like it's like they introduce the conflict of like that's weird. Like we're not on any map. So like your immediate assumption, basically until the foreigners show up, is like that there's something supernatural going on, and then it's like, oh, it's not supernatural. It's just technology.
Yeah.
It's just a conspiracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we should absolutely talk about Lunga.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Lunga.
I think I told you this right after I watched it. I was like, God, I hope the little baby queers watch this movie because they need more Lungas and less Steven universes or whatever their new one is. She-Ra?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Oh, what are the kids putting on trans flags now?
Oh my fucking god. I sincerely don't know the answer to that question. I don't know what the kids are watching. I'm old now. Oh my fucking god.
Isn't that great though? Let me just search Twitter for who's yelling about Pride discourse, and then I'll find out what cartoons they watch.
This season's red flag cartoon. What is it? Lunga is a character who is like this kind of queer-coded, like mildly sort of like Lunga is like almost this like queer villain sort of thing, but the character is really kind of just like instead of being a villain, just kind of like an outcast for reasons that aren't like specifically explained or like, just kind of generally outside of the town, but not for reasons relating to their queerness, but like just because of like some sort of like political disagreement or something like that, or just how the town.
It was partially that Lunga was like a wanted bandit.
Okay.
So she had done something with regards to there's a big central conflict of Tony Jr. in the film about the water supply and the town being denied the water supply. So it's somewhat implied that she did some sort of like paramilitary action. There's like the line where they call them like Fag Che Guerrera. Che Guerrera.
Oh my god.
So it's basically implied that they did some sort of like revolutionary or paramilitary or like air quotes terrorist thing regarding the water supply to like basically make a demonstration, and that they were consequently in like hiding from it. Because like when Paquito goes to visit them, they're like, were you followed? That you see them like making calls to the village and like alerting them of stuff outside of it, but it's sort of implied that they're in hiding and the village is kind of keeping them at arm's length because it's like, oh, your actions have brought undue attention to us.
Right. Okay. That squares. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's fucking sick. Probably like another absolute favorite character. Like an unbelievable like unbelievable eyeliner, unbelievable like wig, the
very
costume.
Good like found fashion look.
Yeah. So having that person be like the character who kind of leads the movie more or less to its climax, and just like all of the sort of everything leading up to that, just like really brilliantly executed, really fucking cool, just good.
The character is very much so like is sort of like the town's like avenging angel character. Like they are the town's like violent protector. They are the one who is deployed as like the sort of general to like keep the village safe is sort of her implied role. And if you notice, we're blending pronouns a lot on this character. So I watched, I rented one version and then I rented a different version of this film to show it to people. And in the second version I watched, the pronouns they use different pronouns. So I'm assuming that like that's a translation choice thing. But a thing we discovered from the interviews is that Lunga was originally written and planned as a trans woman character, but her actor wanted to make the character more androgynously queer because they're a drag queen and they weren't comfortable being a drag queen playing a trans woman.
Yeah, which is always understandable. Yeah, but I don't think the casting was in error. I don't think any of the like, I think that's the right choice. And it made the character, you know, like just precisely as interesting as the character had, you know, any hope of being, especially with someone so needed as like such a necessary performance.
And incredible fucking performance too.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Just the exact right energy of just like anger and passion and like obvious love and care for the village that they are from.
Yeah.
And also like them walking around covered in blood with a machete is such a fucking powerful look.
For fucking real. I also did like the sort of final retribution of like burying the guy. Well, there's also like all of this other, there's a whole other like narrative where the movie is kind of does a couple times throughout the movie they do this thing where it's like they set it up so that the audience can spend some time in the space of like, what is this town doing? Like, why are they doing this? Like, I don't think they explicitly explain initially like why they're digging the hole. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I might be, you know, my ADHD is always stabbing me in the back while I'm watching movies, but I don't remember them explaining why they start digging the hole like around when the attack starts at like midnight that one night. Because they set it up, don't they set it up as they're like digging a grave initially, but then it turns out that it's actually like a fucking underground bunker that they have.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely suggested that like what they are digging is some sort of grave or situation like that. If I remember, they do mention something about storage, but it is definitely like ambiguous what they are digging the hole for, and and then it's revealed later that it's like, oh, there's like a whole bunker down there. That they're not just digging a random like grave for the people who have been killed.
Right. That being like the thing that kind of like ends the movie is, you know, just like they're like that's what fucking happens. Run up and you get buried alive in a bunker.
I think what I love about that too is that it's arguably the most like horrifying fate reserved for the most like evil person. But it's also like while they are doing it, he's like delivering very much so like movie villain kind of like lines, but it's like they don't understand him. And it's not like explicitly made clear that they don't understand him, but it's like a very nice touch of just like, they don't know what the fuck you're saying, dude. Like it doesn't like...
Yeah. And if they did, they wouldn't fucking care.
Yeah. He does have like a great line delivery though in that, where he's like, so much like waste. And then like the one woman who's like, oh, I think he would have been a good man once, which is such a like beautifully empathetic line. She like grabs his face and like just the way he goes, hello. is like
so fucking...
I don't know how to describe it, but it makes me laugh so hard every time he does it. Cause it's such a like weird tonal shift for his character of him just going, hello.
Well, it's just it's has this kind of like biting sarcasm because like a lot of his presence is just this like he has this specific style of like biting hatred, and that line read stands out to me because it's like he's not really taking this shit seriously. Like he's about to die, he's about to be dead because of his bad decision that he made to try to kill this town, but he like to the last minute like does not want to give up his like illusions of supremacy and his illusions of like power, and yeah, just like, every little part and every little line kind of like shows that about his character, and about a lot of those characters.
It is a good film. It is very much so le cinema.
It is quite literally Kino.
We are once again having a great moment in which I am remembering that film is good, actually.
Yeah, it feels good to be able to like talk about, you know, a movie that I'm excited by, and a movie that like blew me away again, just because it turns out there's a lot more of those than you would expect. But yeah, it's always an absolute joy. And I'm sure if you've listened this far, you have seen it, but, you know, go watch it again. Or, you know,
watch it for the very first time.
Yeah.
Get your friends to watch it.
If you're just listening to this to stim, or to like, you know, try to figure out what the movie is or whatever, like
while you're cooking,
go fucking watch it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is extremely violent, and it does have like very upsetting scenes of violence against like
women and children.
And women and children.
There are obviously themes of racism. I guess kind of homophobia. Imperialism. It is a movie that touches on these themes, and while it touches on them towards the service of a very satisfying Western sort of revenge film, and a very positive, like, pro the people and their ability to overcome things ending. You know, I like that even at the end of the film, they recognize the real cost of like what that kind of struggle also involves, where like you see them carrying like the bodies of people who did not make it through the firefight itself. Yeah, absolutely. Like, the movie makes space for kind of every aspect of this style of like wrestling with authority, and like there is a lot of you know, there's a lot of like revenge and retribution, and like a lot of you know, certainly like a lot of I wouldn't say joy, but just like grim sort of satisfaction of watching these assholes get obliterated. But like at the same time, like nobody wants to kill. You know what I mean? Or rather, like, no one in their right mind like wants to have to do that. Like, wants to have to get to that place where that style of self-defense is necessary. Like, that there is a huge cost and a huge amount of grief that is like that paves the road to that place. You know, there's definitely like a lot of catharsis, a lot of positive catharsis to be found in this movie, especially right now. Yeah. If you happen to be living in a place that is struggling against authority, which almost every member of the human population currently is, then, you know, that's definitely, there's a lot of value to that. But yeah, I also like how the movie kind of has space for the other aspects too. Yeah, it's hopeful, it's celebratory, it indulges, but it also like recognizes that like ideally this shit wouldn't be the shit that like people have to do. Yeah. Like ideally there would not be a boot on your throat that you have to cut off. Exactly. As an aside, I know there's so many shots in this film that I could be like, oh, I love this shot, but I think my favorite is with the reveal of Tony Jr. having been implicit and a part of it, which is like such pointed commentary about like American investment and like Americans' ties into like fascist governments across the fucking globe. Yeah. The way that's revealed is that when he pulls up, they open the van and there are like 6 individual water bottles on 6 individual bus seats that are like very clearly like VIP seats and stuff. Just like immediately like, huh, who are those water bottles for, I wonder? Oh my god. Yeah. That whole thing was so good. The line where they're specifically
just pointing it out as a line that I love, the line where they're like, "We are on a powerful psychotropic drug.
Yeah.
You are going to die." Like,
that was actually another thing I noticed on my second watch, is when he sends all those supplies and they have the part where they're like, oh, he gave us these pharmaceuticals, but like it's basically implied like these are basically like opioids, like these aren't going to help us, like these are drugs that will like make us sick and addicted. I realized, he gave them those to make them easier to hunt.
Oh my god.
That is an attempt to because he is more familiar with the history of the village. So like that is definitely like an attempt to even the playing field, air quotes.
Right. Wow, that's really there's so many, just a perfectly like paced sort of ramp up and like all of these little hints. Like I didn't even notice that, but that's fucking awesome. Good movie.
Another thing I really liked that I noticed on my second watch is that when their complaint is like when the two Brazilian characters who are essentially collaborators, like right before they get killed, and one of them says something to the other, the American character goes like, please don't speak Brazilian around us. Brazilian is not the language. It's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Like that was just like a line that was like delivered very quickly and short, like, so I missed it, but on the second watch I'm like, that's like a really funny detail, is that like they have so little respect for even the people that they're collaborating with that they like don't even like, not just that they don't learn the language, they don't even learn what the name of the language is.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, all of the stupid American bits, like I'm an easy mark. I'll go for those bits. But like they were very well executed too, and like pretty accurate. But yeah, like the sheer like lack of respect and the refusal to know anything about Brazil, and like there is like a lot of Bolsonaro's support, I think, came from like the sort of middle working class, which is mostly like south of Brazil. So, and that's where the two Brazilian members of that like squad are from.
Yes. I'd mentioned I had just listened to an interview of a guy talking about Brazilian politics, and he specifically says that like a very good chunk of Bolsonaro's support is essentially the petty bourgeoisie of Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems pretty crucial to the narrative and, to my understanding of history, that they get gunned down like fucking first almost.
Literally immediately after being proven useful. It's just like, just kidding. We actually don't respect you anymore than we respect the people around you. In fact, we respect you less because you're willing to work with us.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing, I don't know if we already mentioned this on recording, but this movie was apparently written before the election of Bolsonaro.
Yes, yeah. I don't want to pull up the tab with the actor's name again, but the actor who plays Lunga is even just like, we actually started working on this film before Bolsonaro, which just goes to show how universal and like how constantly true about politics and the landlording class these things are.
God.
Which also makes it setting being like in the not too distant future, like very, very prescient.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there are motherfuckers out there who would sign up to do this, like, who would sign up to be deployed in some fucking random country to introduce fascism into places. I mean, like, people do this shit all the fucking time.
I was gonna say, we just had that failed coup with the like with like the world's most like low budget like paramilitary group immediately getting caught. Like that's basically who the antagonists in the film are like the Instagram paramilitary guys.
Yeah, who like do their like was it what fucking restaurant were they at? Was it Applebee's or something that?
I forgot about
they all
that.
took that group photo at. They're like,
remember when it came out that one of them had tweeted at Trump, like on their unlocked main account, like, hey, we're heading towards the border, like right now.
Oh my fucking God, dude. Cringe coup.
Top 10 epic fail. I love the bit, by the way, that like the Picotti is just in like some like top 10 like cartel kills video or something.
Okay, yeah.
And then them watching it on like basically Chromecast, but like on the back of a car that has a giant TV strap to it.
The town is just like chilling, watching this like lively like compilation of Paco like killing people
with America's Funniest Home Video sound effects like added into it, which is like the most surreal part about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, go off. I also loved I loved that whole like truck. I do want to give a shout out to DJ Urso, another incredible character. And also like the guy with the guitar. I'm just thinking about characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Now, but
yeah, no, I think it would be so easy to just go down and be like, here's all the characters I liked in this film, the Bacurau character tier list. But they'd all just be like gold stars.
Yeah. S+ for everybody.
Definitely if you like Westerns or if you know somebody who likes Westerns, good to watch with them. But I think, yeah, overall, it's I liked it. It's a good film.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very dense movie. I'm definitely going to watch it, again and again and again. Just because like there is still yet more depth to kind of see there, and just like an infinite amount of relevancy, and it's just so much goddamn fun too. It's has it all, baby.
It really is like the same kind of excitement you get from like you got like watching like Parasite.
Honestly, yeah. Well, it's part of the same like school of filmmaking thought, and it's part of the same like moment, and it's similarly urgent. And I think like urgency in art is absolutely like needed right now, and it's great to see things that like feel, kind of more or less the way that I feel about how things are going in the world, in the little old world out there.
Yeah, no, it's I really feel like we're having a good moment right now for films like this, and I'm really hoping that doesn't immediately get commodified in some way. which would probably be my biggest fear.
Have you watched the Snowpiercer television show yet?
Oh God, I forgot about that.
It's literally propaganda. It is propaganda. What a fucking insult.
The disrespect.
Unfucking believable. Yeah. Don't get me started.
So, Baru, what are you glad you spent your money on streaming this rather than buying?
I would not rather have spent my money on my $12 for streaming Bacurau. 12 or 14, I don't fucking remember. Man, like a cable, like a month of cable news subscription. I would not rather have been exposed to that. I would rather have bought a gun. Jay, what would you rather?
I guess I am glad as soon as Bernie dropped out that I discontinued my Act Blue direct donations. So I'm glad that my $12 did not go towards the Democratic Party.
Yeah, friendship with electoralism ended.
I guess like maybe like, oh, I wish I had like maybe spent my money on like bus fare to go check out the Chaz, like when it, or like to go down to those protests when they were first popping off. I literally happened to be like, I was re-quarantining elsewhere, like right when that all popped off. So I was like,
right.
I guess if I could have somehow spent money to have undone that, that would have been nice.
So as always, plug in our other shit. we've got a Patreon exclusive series called Film Critters Throws It Back. I'm forgetting the fucking name of my own show. You unlock access to it at $5 tier or above. We talk about movies from not recently as voted by you.
By you,
Our
the
prospective
fans, yeah.
or current patron. Yeah. Next month we're going to be talking about Misery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Misery. And then after that, relatedly to the propaganda we were talking about, we're going to be talking about propaganda films.
Yeah, so a poll will be going up shortly on which propaganda we should expose ourselves to, and test our immunity.
Oh, yeah. We've got Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl. Oh, my fucking God. I forgot about Artemis Fowl.
How could you forget about Artemis Fowl?
I actually don't know how I could forget.
Are you telling me that it's a forgettable thing?
Let me tell you how I forgot purposefully. But yeah, look forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am, as always, Baru.
I am, as usually, Jay Bearhat.
Bye.
Bye.